Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is May the 28th, 2021. Wow, strong hand, long-term thinking. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin, unconfiscatable. Don't FOMO on alts. Don't believe the hype, the FUD. Compete, don't complain. I'm offended by selling. This game is not rigged. All right, we got a lot of guests here. It's the new style format here. People come and go. It's going to be awesome. This Week in Bitcoin, Jonathan Hamill returns. Marty's Al, he makes his debut. Bitcoin Clot, he makes his debut. Nima is back after a tremendously long absence. You veterans will remember him. And Alex Spetsky hopefully will be here. He's got a bad connection. But praise the Lord, Alex Spetsky is in the United States of America. You can start the party even if he's not here today. All right, so we're going to start with Nima. He's got a best guest in the freaking space. They're all linked to below. Pound that like button. We'll start with Nima. He's got a really awesome article out there. It is called Bitcoin is the First Global Market for Electricity and Will Unleash Renewables. All right. So he's got a very nice, we've got all this energy FUD out there now, and we're going to have to deal with this for a while. But this is a very easy to understand article with some great talking points that you can bring up if you want to waste time arguing with these fudsters. And one quote is, in one fell swoop, the mere existence of Bitcoin power market introduces universal competition to every grid while empowering generators with optionality and implied floor price for all their current and future capacity. Now, Nima is in the energy industry. What I basically read you right there is all these power generators, they got a deal with the grid. That's all they've ever sold to is the grid, all right? I'm simplifying it. Now there's competition. They can sell to these Bitcoin miners. This is a positive thing. Competition is great. So Nima, you take it away. You explain your article. What is the deal? And tell us about your background a little bit too.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Adam. So my background, for those who don't know me, is I'm in the energy industry. I've worked in like conventional generation, like gas turbines and stuff, and renewables and wind turbines. And this article is really meant to be a wake-up call for the energy industry. So what I can tell you is the energy industry is totally asleep to what's going on in Bitcoin. They have no idea that a whole new market for energy has opened up, and it's an opportunity for them, right? So it's not a threat. It's not a disruption for the energy industry per se. It is an opportunity for the people that want to generate electricity and sell it to have optionality. And as you said, the grids are monopolies. So, every grid is regional, like New York has its own grid, Texas has its own grid. They're pure monopolies and they have all the power. And there's lots of projects that want to connect to the grid that can't. The prices are not high enough to connect. The rules are not in their favor, etc. It's a quagmire. It's like the grid regulation books are this thick. Thousands of pages of rules that you have to know, you have to adhere to. And suddenly, you have this Bitcoin power market where the price is transparent. I mean, it's effectively every 10 minutes, we know what the next block is going to be worth, right? It's the fees and subsidy. So that's effectively the price, and anyone can connect. There's really no rules. As long as you can get your hands on some ASICs, you can connect to that instead, or you can connect to both and have optionality. At any given time, you can sell into the grid or into Bitcoin. That's like a 0 to 1 transition, right? Because you're going from basically being captive to a monopoly, which is your local grid, to suddenly having optionality. And that should change the conversation for people that want to generate power. It lowers their risk, it increases their options. It should be transformational. But what the point of the article is, no one realizes this yet in the energy industry. It's just on the edges. You're starting to get people kind of realizing this. But this is meant to be a wake-up call, and I'm waiting to see how it's going to be received because as you know, the energy industry, they've kind of bought into the FUD, right? So, they're not seeing it as opportunity. They're seeing it as a threat, which is just, the exact opposite way that they should be looking at this. And this article's meant to flip the table on that and just say, if you're in the power industry, you should be looking at this as pretty much the best thing that's happened to this sector in, 100 years since grids came out. Because we've been captive to these grids for about a century, right? It's been the monopoly buyer of power. It's the only way to access your customers, and they hold all the power. So Bitcoin opens that up. It smashes one of the biggest monopolies that's left.
And it's great for these renewable producers too, right? These alternative form of energy. I mean, they've had a hard time. They've had to locate near grids in the past in order to be efficient,
Yeah.
to actually sell. Now they can be anywhere, right? And just sell to Bitcoin miners, correct?
Well, that's the point, right? So like the best renewable resources in the world are almost by definition never located near where we need the power, right? Like I live in the UK, right? The islands in Scotland, the far north of Scotland in the North Sea, they're like incredible renewable resources, but they're not developed at all because what the problem is that the grid capacity doesn't exist to get that power down to, the south of England where people live, right? And that's the case everywhere, like the Sahara, the sunny deserts, Nevada deserts that aren't near any load centers and stuff. So it's been about location in the past, right? You had to have this alignment of good resource, a grid capacity, and a nearby load. That's totally gone now. Now you can be located anywhere. All you need is your ASICs and a satellite internet connection, basically, right? So you're totally location agnostic. All you have to look at is what's the quality of the resource. Is the renewable resource really good? If it is, that means by definition your power is going to be cheap as well. So you're going to be really competitive. And you can build the site. And the other thing is, even some of the sites that are developed, so a lot of people don't realize this, but like when a 2 megawatt solar farm is built somewhere, it's very rarely limited to 2 megawatts because the resource is 2 megawatts. It's the grid capacity that is usually the constraint. So like the grid will say, hey, at this location where you want to build, we have 2 megawatts for you. That site could maybe produce 10 megawatts. We don't know. Like they probably have more land and the resource is probably good. Suddenly they can go beyond that. So they have a site there. Now they can build the other 8 megawatts and make it a 10 megawatt site, have 2 megawatts go in the grid, have the other 8 go to Bitcoin mining. And the additional incremental build is low cost because the infrastructure is already there. The site is there. All they have to do is add more panels. I mean, it should be mind blowing for every, generator, developer, etc., that they suddenly have this optionality. But to be fair, it's only recently that, like, I would say Bitcoin mining has become kind of like a professional enough industry that you would, you could really work with them to develop projects and stuff. It's been a bit of a cottage industry, as we know, until I would say the last couple of years. But that transformation is happening, right? We have these miners, like publicly funded companies now in the States that, you could do deals with, right? They're well capitalized, they're well financed. You could sign a long-term agreements, strategic partnerships, etc. And that's what every energy company should be doing, right? They should be sitting down with these guys and saying, okay, we're the experts at delivering energy. You guys are the experts at buying it and making money with it. Let's make this happen. We're not there yet, but I think that's going to happen in the next 3-4 years.
Okay, so then what do you think about this mining council that has been formed here? Elon Musk and who was the other one? Michael Saylor. They seem to be very worried about what everybody thinks about Bitcoin mining.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of it. I mean, I think we have had bad experiences with these types of initiatives in Bitcoin in the past, right? So I think Bitcoin has a low tolerance for this kind of stuff, and that's a good thing, right? I think we should be skeptical. At the same time, I don't know what they can do, right? Like disclosing your energy mix it's nothing controversial. It's pretty much something every corporate in America does today anyway. And there's no way to enforce it, right? So there's no way to kick a miner off the grid because their energy mix isn't right. And that's a good thing. So it looks like it's pretty much, in my view, like a PR exercise to show engagement, to show the industry's trying to be responsible, etc., without any real teeth, right? If they want to propose things that brings teeth, then that's definitely a no-go. But I think we saw statements from some of the miners saying they fully understand and respect that, you know, Bitcoin's base protocol can't change and they're not trying to do anything like that. So I'm still pretty positive on it. I think it'll improve the conversation. But yeah, we should keep an eye on it and make sure, you know, they stick to what they've said so far. That's my 2 cents.
All right, now we're going to go to well, Alex. I haven't even tested to see if you're if it's working on your end, but Alex, if you can hear me, you can ask Nima questions. You can comment on his article or what he said. But a specific question is, what do you think about this mining council, Alex? Oh, I know you're there. We see you. Okay, it might be your bad hotel connection.
I can get it from here if you want to.
Yeah, Jonathan, take it.
Yeah. Thanks, Nima. This is a very interesting article. What's interesting, there's a very good article. It's been a few years by BitMEX Research about the good explanation of the economic mechanism behind proof of work. And it's interesting to know that the origin of Bitcoin mining in China, in the northwestern part of China, is really tied to a lot of coal plants were built in this area to power aluminum smelting plant. And in that time, in that period, aluminum prices crashed. So all the coal plants had excessive power. So this is why pretty much all the Bitcoin miners installed in that area, because there's a good article by Dan Held who also made the comparison with aluminum production, which is one of the most energy intensive process. And it's interesting because in the 50s or 50, 60s, there was exactly the same narrative as actually against Bitcoin mining with aluminum production. Like the experts were saying, like by 1970, the whole, like the aluminum production is going to take like all the energy in the world, and we have to stop it. It's not not sustainable. So it's been for many jurisdictions in the world, especially like here, Quebec, we've built like some major aluminum production plant. You have places where you have stranded energy. I think Iceland is a major aluminum production plant. The Arab Emirates. So everywhere where there is like stranded energy, a way to monetize this energy that they cannot export is being used as to power aluminum production plant. Bitcoin mining is the exact same thing. So as you said, Nima, another interesting aspect is once you dig into like Bitcoin mining, you have a pretty good crash course on thermodynamics, physics. And one thing that you learn is this is why you get through all these ESG bullshit and renewables, and you realize that the energy world is imperfect, and you cannot just magically store energy in the battery, like it's sometimes like said by ecologists or stuff like that. And you cannot like transport energy from point A to point B magically. There's most of the time there's hundreds, even like thousands of kilometers from the source to the destination, and you have a major power energy loss between these points. It's not the electricity is not transmitted like data. Like you have a loss of energy the longer the transport is. So there's a direct incentive, and it was exactly the same thing with aluminum production plant. Bitcoin mining has a direct incentive, like you said, to be installed near these imperfect sources. A good example, you talk about solar, but a very good example to me is hydro. Like here in Quebec, we are one of the biggest hydro producer in the world. Hydro-Quebec is losing 1 billion per year in excessive hydro capacity that they cannot sell because they don't have enough clients. And they just throw the water. So the water goes through the dam, they don't turbine it, and so they lose this money effectively. So back in 2017-18, there was a rush of demand from miners to say, look, we're going to invest in this. And this is northern Quebec. This is not like 200 kilometers from Montreal or from the major city. This is like way north. So you had like miners proposing to invest. So there was a proposal up to 500 million in communities that are directly tied to like natural resources. So nothing's going to be built there anymore. Anyway, So and this is exactly what you saw also in the New York State and a few states. There was a big pushback from political authorities, because you cannot have like private enterprise arriving and announcing $500 million project without like asking for subsidies or pictures with politicians. And so it was way like out of the left field. They were not ready to let's say welcome that industry, but the producer initially was very inclined to serve this industry, because I mean they're solving a pretty interesting problem. They have excessive energy, they just like burn it and they pay their bills at the end of the day. So it's amazing to see how like the political debate took over like the rational economic debate of producing energy. And to me, like, this is one of the conclusion, and I think it's going to get worse, because on a larger scale, everything is getting more political. Look at the speech of the central bankers. And now, back in the days, they were just like maybe talking about inflation and stuff like that. Now they talk about equality, racism, climate justice. So everything has become more politicized, and it's to me, it's really, really dangerous. This is why like industry with like Bitcoin mining is going to get installed in places where there's really a demand, like small scale oil and gas production, who are stranded. I really like companies like Upstream Data, Stephen Barber, who's like building rigs to help gas producer, instead of actually also solving an environmental problem. Instead of flaring the gas, they just generate electricity with it and they mine Bitcoin. They could export it, but we don't have any pipelines at some part of the Western Canada. So this is actually, there's no downside. And if you're well-intentioned and you do your research, you're going to realize that. And it's going to be really interesting to see it unfold in the next few years.
So what do you think about this formation of a mining council that seems to be political? It seems to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like at the basic, I don't have any problem with like industry having some kind of like a coordination. I mean, people having like mutual interests. I mean, it's common. We have convention in Bitcoin as well. I mean, this is no big deal. But the premise of like coordinating the miners with some kind of standards based on energy source, I mean, it's bullshit. At the end of the day, energy is joule. And I always use this hashtags talking about minings, hashtag make energy joules again, because that's what it is at the end of the day. It's just like when you produce energy, you're like burning joules. So we really have to get back to the basics. And there is abundant energy everywhere. Like there's a direct incentive for renewables, like Quebec is a good example, but like coercing miners to steer to orientate towards renewable energy. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to push them. On a market basis, they're going to try to find the lowest possible energy sources.
All right, Alex, are you? Can you speak? I saw you there. Okay, cool.
Can I, Jonathan, just respond to a couple of points, which I think are really interesting? You know, the reference to aluminum, you're very right. That's absolutely what's happened in the past. And aluminum used to be the only way to effectively export energy across grids. But Bitcoin mining has two big advantages. One is, and like the problem is, first of all, that aluminum is not a modular project, right? So to do the aluminum smelting is a massive infrastructure project. It effectively requires two multinational corporations to kind of come together and build huge energy infrastructure. Bitcoin mining, you know, this is a concept that can go down to like, you know, the kilowatt scale, right? Like we can solve this problem for rooftop solar up to, you know, Northern Quebec hydro scale, pretty much similarly, right? It's totally scalable. So that makes it like we can address way more of the problem. Whereas with aluminum, we could basically only address like the massive imbalances. Now we can take it down to a smaller scale. So that's really cool. And then the other thing is, you know, you mentioned the price collapse of aluminum. So the problem with like aluminum it's not a liquid market, right? It's not a liquid financial market like Bitcoin, where you know you're going to be able to sell the product in a very simple way, very low risk. Like you're kind of committing yourself. If you're going to work on a commodity like aluminum and that's the final product, you're committing yourself to a very risky market, because like, you know, any type of decisions, technological advances could totally change the value of that product in the future. And that's what happened to China effectively, right? They made a bet on aluminum, and for some reason unrelated to them, the price effectively went down. But Bitcoin, I mean, Bitcoin's price does go up and down, but as it becomes more and more liquid, it's actually going to be a more liquid market than any grid in the world, right? It's going to be a bigger energy market in terms of value than any of the grids in the world, and it'd probably be the best market to sell into, where you just know I can get rid of this quickly, easily. I can get currency and whatever, whether I want to hold Bitcoin or dollars or whatever, I can sell it. And it doesn't have to transport to market. It doesn't have any of the problems of like a physical commodity and production. So, I see it as like aluminum massively improved, right? It's like the digital version of that. And I think it's going to solve even more problems for these energy producers in the long term.
Nima, now we know you can't stay long, so I just want to ask you a question. What do you think about all this ESG stuff that has infiltrated corporate governance all over the world?
Yeah, good question. I mean, in my personal view, I mean, it's the it just politicizes everything, right? And from a business perspective, right, it makes it very difficult to make business decisions because it introduces a whole new framework to make decisions, right? Like it introduces massive complexity into all decision making. You should be, if you want to run a successful business, you should be making economic decisions, and that will lead you to the best outcomes, right? Overall. So I think business leaders to some extent are confusing themselves with all of this and getting themselves all wrapped up, right? So I don't know how sustainable it is, right? Because in the long run, is your business performance going to be better or worse if you're basically complicating your own decision making with subjective factors? I think it will sort itself out. I don't think there's any way out of it in the short term. I think it's become, quite embraced, and I think it's going to be one of those things that we're almost going to have to grow out of it and potentially forget. But I think it could be an important thing for businesses for a decade or so.
Yeah, basically the way I sum it up, it makes no business sense, any of it. And I don't know what Kevin O'Leary, is he just obsessed with it because he wants to fit in?
Yeah.
He wants cheap Bitcoin? What's his logic for getting into it?
It makes sense, Adam. It makes sense for the marketer, for the sellers of fund, like the BlackRocks, the Invesco. I mean, they create a whole subset of industry with that, with the ESG funds. So it's pretty interesting when you dig down a little bit. You realize that it's not really different than different funds. There was a statement that ESG was performing better than the average market, and when you realize that ESG components of the funds are mostly like tech companies, so there's like a strong bias towards very big capitalizations company. So it's and look at, to me, like I'm a very big fan of oil and gas industry. I mean, commodities in general. My family came from the mining industry, so it's a market that as an investor I've been following for a long time. And look at what ESG and all the companies, the pandering that they try to do with, let's say, the ecologists and stuff like that. Look at how it's just like blowing back in their face. Like in the last few days, ExxonMobil, one of the biggest oil companies in the world, was forced to give like 2 board seats to some kind of ecologist activist groups who basically advocate for ending their fossil fuel businesses. So it doesn't make any sense at all to pander to these groups. It's just like advocating for the end of like energy industry as we know it. So there's definitely there's an organic advantages to like advocate for good governance, and there's already like a mechanism in place. Like the best companies in the world are not run by idiots. Like it's pretty substantial fact. So there is organic mechanism to sort out who are the best administrator in general, notwithstanding what is their sex, orientation, or whatever the background they have.
All right, Alex, can you hear us?
Yes.
All right, dude.
Can you hear me?
I wanted you to rip into all this that we've been talking about. I know some of it had to tempt you, from mining to ESG. What's your and Nima's article? Do you have anything Because people love when you rip into stuff and you haven't spoken yet, so go ahead.
Look, I think I really echo what both the guys have said, obviously, but especially what Jonathan said at the end there is like, if we bend the knee to these idiots, like, imagine hiring someone to come into your business who is against your business. Like, I'd strangle them. I'd probably kill them. I'd hire them just so I could beat them up or something. So like, I just, it's the most insane thing. Like, how, like, what I think people don't understand is that the greatest damage we can do to the environment is to waste energy, time, and resources. Like, when you waste it, you're destroying it, you're burning it for nobody's benefit. And when you add complexity to any process, when you add meaningless bureaucracy into any process, you actually increase the waste. So these idiots, under a banner of let's save the environment, are literally destroying the environment, destroying the resources, destroying the energy, destroying people's patience, their time, their energy, their effort. Like, it is the most backwards thing on the face of the planet. And, you know, like, I was in a Telegram group just saying, like, I hope these eco-terrorists are the last ones ever to buy Bitcoin, so that they can live in their own slums. And I will not let them in my city. I will not let them in my city. Seriously. I'll let them sit outside. I'll let them starve. And we'll probably fly over them with helicopters and drop bags of manure on them. Like, just for fun.
Pound that like button. This is what I was expecting from Alex. All right, I know, Nima, you got to get out of here real soon. Do you have any conclusionary thoughts about your article? Anything you want to just tell the world that you haven't shared yet? But before you go, he's linked to below. Please read the article, everyone. It was very easy. It's easy to understand. Anyone can get it.
I think my closing statement would be that one of the best things Bitcoin is going to do is break one of the strongest monopolies that still exists today, and that's the energy grids. They are geographical monopolies. We are all captive to them, literally. If you have lights in your house, you know, you're captive to your local grid monopoly. And if you're a generator, you're just as captive, right? So these are private enterprises that are trying to succeed, and they're captive to a monopoly. I'm not saying the grids are useless. They're a great utility. We all use them every day, blah, blah, blah. But the competition that Bitcoin introduces is going to transform the energy industry. It's going to force the grids for the first time ever to think about, hey, I have to compete with someone. How do I get more attractive than that? And that itself is just going to create so much more innovation and opportunity in the energy industry than we've seen before. So it's just a massive boon. It's like a second order effect of Bitcoin. It's just going to be opening up and a blossoming of the energy industry. And as energy is one of the base, you know, things that all human progress is based on, it's going to be incredible, right? And, you know, the other thing I will say is read Alex Gladstein's article that he wrote this week about Bitcoin and is a humanitarian and environmental benefit, because there's a part in there about, you know, like projects in remote areas like in Africa and stuff, right, where they want to build power, like they want to build renewable resources or whatever, but there's no grid to take the power at all. So like communities just stay unelectrified, right? You need an economic load that's flexible effectively to take the power off the site to build it. And that is going to be huge, right? Because suddenly you don't need grids in these places. You can have microgrids effectively, right? Small regional microgrids with Bitcoin mining as the backbone. It's going to be incredible. It's going to take about 20 to 30 years because the energy industry is quite slow. But I mean, this has started now, right? Like people are starting to think of this in the energy industry. So I think what happened in Quebec a couple of years ago was probably 5 years too early, and they got, you know, they basically freaked out, like you said. But I think in the next 5 years, we're going to start to see this happen at scale. So thanks for having me on, Adam.
Thanks.
Yes, and thank you for making Energy FUD interesting again, man. Seriously, it was killing me. You put a great spin on it. I'm a positive guy. you put just a great positive spin on all this. So thanks for coming back on the show. I know it was brief and everything, but it's a great article. Everybody check it out. All right.
I gotta go, man. Thanks for having me. Bye,
all
guys.
Right. Now we're going to go to our other two guests who have, I mean, we had to focus on that, but I want to get Bitcoin Clot. What you have been silent. It's time for your debut on the show. What do you have to say about what we've been talking about here?
Yeah, I'll comment on Kevin O'Leary and the ESG stuff. This notion that we should care about appeasing institutions and their arbitrary criteria is just nonsense. It's kind of akin to traditional finance and scammy altcoiners. The fact is, we don't need the suits. We don't care about their governance, their ethics, their investment committees. Bitcoin is inevitable. And the bottom line is they need Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't need them. So, this ESG FUD, even if it is delaying institutions from adopting Bitcoin, like Kevin asserts, that's a good thing because it gives the plebs more time to stack and front run these institutions.
Yeah, and it's very questionable, that assertion on his part. I need proof because there's plenty of institutions that have already bought it and stuff. I mean, maybe that's what his plan is, to scare them away, and who knows what maybe for him to get more, maybe he'll fork off an ESG Bitcoin. Be my guest, do that. So they just leave this ESG nonsense, make their own ESG coin. What do you think, Clot, about the mining council, though?
I agree with Nima. I don't think it's as nefarious as it's being made out to be, but I do understand the concerns. I think it'd be easier to digest if it wasn't, with these miners that are pushing this OFAC compliance, or if it wasn't, the sole reason trying to appease Musk. I mentioned on Twitter not too long ago that my first true test of conviction was during the fork wars of 2017, and there's a lot of similarities with the New York agreement. So I think it's good to be aware and concerned, but I still see Saylor as a net positive and an ambassador for Bitcoin. So I think it needs to be careful, but I see it as a non-starter.
Yeah, I think it is a marketing type of thing. I don't think it should be scary. I know it reminds people a little bit of 2017, and I just want to read a quote real quick from Nick Carter. He says, "Billionaires commandeer Bitcoin consensus with shadowy, centralized, closed-door cabal sounds a lot scarier than miners accounting for 10% of the hash rate agreed to disclose basic information that many of them were already disclosing anyway." So yeah, that second part is what's really going on. But the clickbait people were, scared. Billionaires commandeer Bitcoin consensus with shadowy, centralized, closed-door cabal. Everybody always likes to make everything into a cabal and scary and closed doors when it's not. It's so I agree. A lot of people are blowing it out of proportion. But I do think that there's part of the reason that they're doing this, though, is marketing, just to fit in, to calm people down. I really don't think they need to do it, but whatever. Okay, Marty's out. Your turn for your debut. We've put a lot on the table this last half hour. What do you have to say about it all?
Yeah, I guess for the mining council part, I'm probably a little bit more worried about it than most people here, I guess. I think Saylor's a net positive. I think he's, a billionaire pleb that works for us. But at the same time, I just don't want this to become a bigger thing than it is. I don't mind transparency with energy mixes, but if this mining council decides to become a huge, it could be a lobbying group for U.S. Congress and enact certain laws that are absolutely dumb, and maybe they'll do more OFAC compliant blocks because you have Marathon within this group. So I am worried a little bit there with that kind of stuff. It seems like we're kissing up to Elon and just begging him to get into the space when I don't think we really need him, because with Bitcoin, no single person's bigger than Bitcoin, right? That's why we're in it. It's all decentralized. So it just seems a little odd, a little weird. So my natural gut instinct is always think adversarially. So I'm a little cautious and pessimistic when it comes to this council. Hopefully it doesn't come to extraordinary stuff that we don't want to see, but I'm a little concerned, a little worried, but I'm hoping I'm blowing this out of proportion, from the start. So we'll see, I guess. But yeah, I'm a little bit worried about it all.
All right, that's an honest opinion there, and people have pedestaled Elon. I don't know if we're going to talk about Elon because it's just more pedestaling of him. I want to remind everyone there is a site called endthefud.org. Endthefud.org, the best links to articles debunking Bitcoin FUD. That pertains to what we've been talking about here. We've talked a lot about Bitcoin FUD here. I want to speaking about putting entities on pedestals, though. I want to read a quote about China real quick. Where did that go? We had the. Oh, there it is. If China, this is from Matt Odell. If China actually bans Bitcoin mining, it will be really effing obvious. Largest difficulty adjustment ever, kind of obvious. Anything short of that is fake news. That goes back to last week, but I wanted to put that out there. All right, but before we move on from any of the topics that were discussed, does anyone have anything to add of the ESG, the Mining Council, what Nima was saying, or even China FUD? Anybody got anything to add to that? All right, so let me go to Alex here. Alex, you've come out with a new article, Chaos and Order, Bitcoin Chaos and Order. You sound like Jordan Peterson. What was up with your article? Give us a summary and get everybody interested.
It's a philosophical dive into Bitcoin. So kind of like each week I'm like bipolar. One week I'll write a scathing article on why everyone's an idiot and Bitcoin sort of destroys the sludge. So the prior was obviously that fiat communism, fascism versus sovereignty. So and that's going to be the topic of my talk at Miami. But this one's more of a philosophical dive. So kind of it's essay number 2 of a 12-part series, and the 12-part series I'm taking lessons within each chapter of Peterson's book, The 12 Rules for Life, and I'm writing about how Bitcoin not only sort of enables elements of the lessons and the principles and the ideas he discusses, but it magnifies them. So in his second lesson, I think it's called "Treat Yourself Like Someone You're Responsible for Taking Care of." In there, he discusses a little bit about chaos and order. He discusses about, the difference between the study of matter and what matters. So, the study of matter is sort of like the empirical study of, things and stuff, right? While the study of what matters is things like philosophy or economics and stuff like that. And I make a point in my article near the beginning is Renaissance was a time where, we saw the emergence of the structured study of matter. Like we saw the rise of the scientific method, at least in a documented form. Like the scientific method's been with us since the beginning of time. Like I make a point in there that since we first threw a stick at an animal and realized that we could get food, we started to refine our processes. But it was always guided by the pursuit of what matters, which is I need to eat, I need to survive. And sort of the Renaissance kind of allowed both to flourish. But over particularly the last 100 years or the last 50 years, we've discarded the study of what matters, and we've attempted to apply the empirical version, like the study of matter, across everything. And we've tried to deconstruct anything that has like meaning or anything that involves the study of trade-offs or the study of ideas or the study of philosophy. Like, starting with these idiots like Derrida and everything, like we've made everything meaningless, empty, and pointless. Like we've even tried to distill economics into these like little equations where the equations make 100 different assumptions so that what they represent doesn't actually represent reality anymore. But it doesn't matter. Let's just run the world based on this equation because it fits my empirical viewpoints. So I talk about how Bitcoin is Renaissance 2.0, and it allows the study of what matters to come in again, because Bitcoin sort of ties ties the study of what matters, like ties trade-offs to the real world, through thermodynamics, through real incentives, through not being able to cheat the game, so that we've all got skin in the game. So anyway, it's a philosophical expose. Obviously, it's one of my deeper pieces, and yeah, if anyone feels like reading into the deeper nuances of how Bitcoin changes individuals, and therefore has a further effect, or second, third, fourth order effects on humanity, then go for it. Have a read.
All right, good summary there. Deep philosophical stuff. You getting it all here today. Pound that like button. He's linked to below. The freaking article is linked to below. Other guests. I don't know if you guys read it, but do you have anything to say about what Alex just put out there?
Yeah, just an observation. To me, like, it's getting pretty obvious since, let's say, the 3-4 years that I will say, like, conservatism in general, and I will include in that minarchists, like anarchists, libertarian, like this culture is increasingly becoming the cool counterculture, because like when you see pretty much all the progressive, like right now, they are leaning towards like the authoritarian, like far left ideology. So when you see, it's pretty amazing when you see like corporate media, Antifa, center to left politicians, and let's say like the marketing, the department of Goldman Sachs, they pretty much share the same talking points. So it's amazing. They think of themselves like at the forefront of some kind of ideological revolution, but they all share the same effing points. And to me, that's pretty obvious. So if you see like on campus, the revolution now is to be like in some kind of conservative groups, or even like see I don't even like reject the idea of some kind of return to religions. So like it's well explained by Dr. Peterson. Actually, people need that let's say philosophical and connection with the world. So to me, it's clear that Bitcoin is going to insert itself into this counterculture that's increasingly becoming the place to make difference in society. And what's interesting, and we increasingly seeing people from the moderate left joining this like conservative revolution. I see like we were talking about energy earlier. People like Mike Schellenberger is a guy who's advocating for nuclear energy. He's a Democrat. He's a left-wing guy, and he's amazed by the fact that so-called ecologists are against nuclear power. So like the whole edifice of ideological construct of the far left is kind of crumbling under its own weight. And we're gotta pick up from there, and building an alliance and building bridges. To me, like Bitcoin's only gonna gain from that ideological revolution.
Personal responsibility is the new counterculture. You heard it here first for years and years, and now it's definitely playing out. Collectivist culture is the mainstream. Everybody having the same talking points. Blind hate for nuclear energy, unbelievable. There is no thought anymore. Some people don't want there to be truth anymore. Bitcoin is the security truth machine. Pound that like button. All right, Marty's Al, do you have anything to add to this conversation? Marty's out.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I think, as we go down the Bitcoin, as Bitcoin becomes more and more bigger, I think it'll just make people more libertarian or conservative as it is anyways, right? So I think we're in this weird kind of fiat world where everybody's crazy, nobody's thinking for themselves, everybody's, wacko and just listening to mainstream media. I think as we go down further, it's going to get a little bit better in this Bitcoin world. So I think that's my hope, just to make it a little bit better world. People will think for themselves a little bit better. But yeah, I think, eventually we'll regress towards more to the right, libertarian, rather than this weird kind of leftist authoritarian world as we are living in right now.
Authoritarianism. That's been the theme of the last year, to say the least. Bitcoin Clot, any thoughts?
No, not to Alex's article. I hear thermodynamics and my eyes gloss over, but you're making me bullish. I just bought some sats. Let's go.
All right, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I might just quickly add something off the back of Marty's Owls thing. Is that I think my guess. I was speaking to Mark Moss about this actually the other day. I was asking him, what do you think the next 10 years or the next 20 years looks like? And we were sort of like throwing ideas around, and like my guess is that in a world that's increasingly becoming authoritarian and centralized, in its attempt to stay relevant, like it's just so you can just see the desperation on these maniacs. Like they're desperately trying to grip and squeeze onto whatever pathetic relevance they have, and they're trying to make themselves more relevant by overblowing and hysterializing every single minor problem, so that, hey, look at me over here, I'm still relevant, you need me. And in the process of doing that, they're basically tearing apart like the fabric of humanity. And what I think we're going to have is sort of these pockets of sanity popping up around the world. Like this is a pocket of sanity. Miami 2021 is going to be a pocket of sanity. Like there's pockets of sanity all over the place. And as we sort of rise up, we're going to be in stark contrast to this edifice that is sort of like eating itself, like this parasite that's kind of eating itself. And so my guess is that the next probably 5 years are going to be quite messy. I think there's going to be a lot of mess. There's going to be worse restrictions. There's going to be worse stupidity. There's going to be more hysteria. There's going to be all of that crap. But simultaneously, there's going to be, more pockets of hope popping up. And at some point, like, the trend has to move in the other direction. So what I keep telling everyone, because I always get messages from people on Telegram or Twitter saying, thank you for your pieces, you're keeping me sane, but I'm surrounded by idiots. Like I got one from a lady the other day saying, how her husband, she's like, look, I've, gone down the rabbit hole now, listening to your podcast. And she goes, my husband is still walking around wearing a mask, hoping to get vaccinated. She goes, I want to divorce him. And I was like, get rid of the fucker.
Yeah.
So I was like, like the thing is, people are looking for hope. And I think what the point that I gave her at the end was like, we just need to outlast the sludge.
Yeah.
We need to outlast the sludge because they're going to bury themselves under their own stupidity. There's going to be casualties along the way, but we just need to like do everything we can to keep our little pockets of hope strong. And so long as we come out the other end, we're going to be the ones calling the shots, not these monkeys. So that's,
Yeah, a great quote by Michael Malice, a great anarchist that I'm following on Twitter. Follow him, is very, very entertaining. He said like they want you dead, but they'll settle for your obedience, and that's pretty much it. They want you dead. They don't want to debate with you. They want you dead. This is like this is what they want. So it's and people I think underestimate how crazy it's becoming in the corporate world. Like in the Bitcoin industry, it's pretty much detached from this reality. But I'm still pretty much in the corporate world in my day-to-day business, but it's pretty much like college right now. Like this hysteria of not only ESG but identity politics is grasping the corporate world with both hands. It's really frightening, to be honest.
Some people have tried to bring identity politics into Bitcoin. We need more XYZ gender people doing that. But they're free to do that because Bitcoin doesn't care, and that's not a major FUD point. But you keep seeing those. They're headline-grabbing articles. We need more women. It's clickbait stuff. And by the way, thanks for bringing up Michael Malice. He is a Bitcoin fan. He is. I've heard him talk about it quite a few times. So good for him. And yeah, pockets of sanity, which I like that term, Alex. Yeah. There's a world filled with hysteria, and we're going to actually talk about, if no one else has anything to add to that, because there is a big hysterical thing about to happen. Biden to unveil 6 trillion budget proposal. $6 trillion budget proposal for the United States. That is insanity. Okay, so right there, and we're going to talk about it. But anyone have anything to add to what we were just talking about there? All right, so I will. Who hasn't? Clot. What do you think about this $6 trillion proposed budget? What's it mean for Bitcoin?
Money printer go burr. It's like Bitcoin marketing. I mean, it's just number gonna go up. I mean, it's as simple as that. They're digging their own graves.
Yeah, it seems to be a trend that won't end. The printing of the money. It is just a budget proposal. I don't know if they're going to approve this or not. I mean, we've gotten to the point of it seems like it's fake. Like $6 trillion budget. My lord. I mean, we keep on having all these stimulus. I mean, why do we even need a stimulus now? The whole thing's over with. The virus. I mean, it is crazy. What's going on with the and how people can still deny that that we're going to have inflation. I mean, the marketing that's going behind, that's on the media is in lockstep with the government. It seems like that inflation will be a good thing. I predicted it a while ago. Happyflation is what it is.
I remember when billions was a large number.
It's gone. Yeah, that's a thing of the past, dude. Yeah, billions is just that's normal. I mean, every special interest needs their billions from the government now. But since
billions is the plebs now.
Yeah. Marty's out. I want to give you time to speak. If you want to rip into the Biden administration or the money printing or the inflation, that the normies just don't seem to know about this stuff. It's I mean, they know about every gender on Earth that can be imagined, but they don't seem to get inflation.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the great financial crisis, we're dealing with billions of dollars, and now it's going up to trillions of dollars. Now, even last year, it was whatever we did was like 1 or 2 trillion, like nothing crazy. But now it's 6 trillion. So we're just exponentially growing our fiscal, debt here and spending. So, I mean, like, I feel like people are gonna have a rude awakening soon and I feel like some of them get it. Lumber's going up. Everything else is seemingly going up, and it just doesn't. It wouldn't make sense to the normal person. You have literally no growth in the past year as far as GDP goes, and then all of a sudden everything goes up exponentially. Like your house went up like 30%. Your assets went up, like 50%, whatever it was last year. So it's like, come on, it has to make sense to the normies at this point because it's just getting ridiculous. And yeah, I mean, it's just more advertisement to Bitcoin as we move along because it's just people are going to say, wow, these are like more shroot bucks. Like they're going to be like Dave Portnoy. Like, what does this matter? Like, what is this? This is like nothing. And, people value something that's finite and fixed supply and that doesn't debase. So I'm hoping this could be some sort of lesson, but I mean, we're dealing with normies, so who knows? I kind of doubt it, but I mean, it's just more advertisement for us, if anything.
All right, now it is more advertising for Bitcoin, and it's really happening. This money printing that everyone's been predicting for years and years to an extreme. So, are we still? But yet we have people saying that the bull market is over. I'm going to stick with you here, Marty's out. What is your take on bull market?
It's over. What? we just started, man. We got a long ways to go. I'm kind of predicting like maybe an elongated cycle here for the bull market. Just maybe it goes to maybe even next year. I think in the past it goes it probably ended like this fall, but I think with everything going on, we're just kind of stabilizing here in this little price range right now in the 30s, 40s, 50s. I think it can maybe get a little bit elongated, maybe go through like first quarter of next year or so. So it's not all cycles are the same, but they do rhyme. But I think this is going to be slightly different than the first two bull runs. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't expect it to be anything like the first or second one. So Yeah, I just think it'll be different. It'll surprise people. I think it'll surprise people, see the upside as well. So I'm expecting more fireworks this year, even though we're still dealing with Doge morons and ETH retards as well. So
I give you credit. You're the first one that's given me the elongated thesis. I either get dudes that say, yeah, it's going to end in October, like it'll end during the fall, October, just similar to 2017, which ended in December. Or there's some people that says it's never going to end this time. So you gave a different opinion there. Sorry to interrupt you. Did I? You have something else to say there? I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good. And, like, I don't know whether we'll keep jumping into these 4-year cycles. I don't think we'll do escape velocity as some people predict and super cycle. I don't know. It just seems like there's too much dumb money in the space that don't get it. I actually think we basically need a dollar collapse in like Weimar, just capitulation to get to that point of Bitcoin just absolutely running. But I mean, we'll see. I think it's still an interesting 12 months or so to go from here. So I think it'll be a fun year.
All right. It's always fun in Bitcoin. Pound that like button, people. If you got questions, we got answers. Type in BitcoinMeister to a super chat. We'll answer your questions. I forgot to say that. Clot, I didn't, when we were just talking about the inflation, I didn't ask you about your take on the bull run, on the FUD that it's over.
Not a chance. I mean, I'm a permabull. You can give me a bearish take, and I would take it. We're going to keep going up. Every indicator shows it. On-chain analytics, shout out Stacks. Everything I'm seeing, there's just no chance that it's over.
All right. I want to read, what's this? This is a March 29th tweet come true. This is from Mandrick, who will eventually be on this show. I can't wait, not today, but another. I can't wait for 40 to 50,000 to be, this is from, by the way, from March 29th. I can't wait for 40 to 50,000 to be considered blood on the streets. It'll be effing hilarious watching people and institutions bail on Bitcoin. Well, lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. We've gone down to 30, 40s, and my lord, it's considered blood on the streets, and we've got everybody and their mother talking about how they're bailing on Bitcoin. So that was very predictable. What else is predictable is when all these people FOMO back into it. I mean, we've seen this happen so many times.
It's similar to was it like fall 2018 when it crashed back to something like 4,000, and people were expecting like 2,800s, and now and same thing at 10,000. People always expected like 8,000-7,000, and now it's the same. Like they expect like a retrace to low 20s. So it's always the same. Like then it's gonna take like 10, 15, 20%, and oh fuck, I should have bought. So it's always the same at different price level. The difference with this cycle, I think, is a concept that was introduced to me by Francis Pouliot, is the mental order book of Bitcoin. Like let's say like everybody has like a mental order book with different price point. Is the mental order book is just getting bigger now. I mean, and you have different like entry points. There's an ETF in Canada. There's many ETF in Canada. There's many ways to buy Bitcoin. So the potential entry points multiplied by the size of the order books, the mental order books of Bitcoin is to me there's a huge backstop to a complete collapse like the previous cycle. That's the new feature in this cycle to me. I don't think I still think we're in a bull market. It's going to continue in the foreseeable future, and for different asset as well. I think a gold is going to go up as well. I mean, it's not reflecting the fear that people have for future inflation, and it's we're going to see like some asset class really go up in the next few months and few years. It's going to be impressive.
Now, I want to go back to inflation before we get back to Alex, because I want his take on inflation. But I do want to remind everyone, in the 70s in the United States, when there was inflation, and everybody knew it, but there were so many fewer distractions back then. There were only 3 TV stations. That was how you got your mindless nonsense back in the day. You turned on ABC, CBS, or NBC, and so you couldn't run away from inflation. It was there. Now, my Lord, the amount of we have the internet, there's a million TV stations. I mean, they can just be comfortably numb, and they can buy into these narratives that it's happy inflation. There's so many more distractions. So people do say people are going to wake up and buy Bitcoin. The normies will buy Bitcoin because it'll be too painful. I think they got a lot of heroin out there now, much more so than they did in the 70s, and they will not notice it, and they will be convinced that it's a good thing. Everyone's been dumbed down, and there's so many more distractions. So I wanted to throw that on the table. But Alex, your take on inflation, bull market, everything we've been throwing out there.
Yeah, I think the one rule that always holds true with Bitcoin is, it's always going to be maximum pain for people who want to come and just make money and get rich quick and all of that. And I was debating with Bitcoin Tina about this on a Clubhouse. He's like, "No, we're never going to have another drawdown more than 20-30% again." I was like, "Man, you're on crack." Like, we are 100% still in that phase. So long as we see, altcoins, I can't say the other word here, but, so long as we see those things still existing and people still putting money in them, what you have is literally dumb money. And dumb money is just gets scared. Like they have no idea why they're buying Bitcoin. They have no idea why they're buying any of these other things. They have no idea why they're buying anything. They have no idea what the meaning of their own lives are. Like, and we think they know why they're buying, some sort of investment product. Like, I did a tweet a little while ago. So while I was in Costa Rica with Francis, I bumped into some, Americans there, and, I went and had dinner with them, and they were sort of talking about their stupid portfolios on Robinhood and their stupid portfolios on Coinbase. And they're like, and I'm asking them, like, so why'd you buy this coin? And they're like, I don't know, man. It's going to go up. I was like, what is wrong with you, you idiot? Like, so like the thing is, what that tells me is that, we'll probably need to go sideways for a little while. I think we'll go sideways, a little up, down, and around in circles until the idiots get bored of Bitcoin. The idiots who came to get rich quick piss off. Like, the ones who, because they're only here to make a quick buck. And when the quick buck doesn't eventuate, where they have to actually do some thinking, but the fact is they lack the capacity to think because they don't have brains. They're just zombies. When they piss off, that's when we can start moving back upwards again. And I relish in that. I want to see them poor. I want to see them have nothing. Like, I really, really, really want to see them broke, destitute, and starving, because they deserve it. Like, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, it makes me happy to see them suffering. So, when they're cleaned out, Bitcoin will continue. And I think we've probably got a couple months of sideways action for that. Like, we'll probably have some fake breakouts. We'll have some fake dumps. These guys will get stressed out. The good thing is maybe 5 or 10% of them are going to become actual Bitcoin hodlers. And that's good, because that's what these cycles are all about. It's about washing the scum and leaving, the sort of the critical mass of good people. And, they're the people I welcome in. The rest of them can go, can go and suffer. And that's my feeling.
You've got a very good point about the conversion rate of impulsive people to holders. It's about 5%, but that's still good. If that keeps happening year after year after year, that's a lot of new people. That's different, because I believe in the 80%, 20% thing. The 80%ers, they're so impulsive. 20% of the people out there, produce 80% of everything. That's who Bitcoin is really for. To try to become a 20%er. It's not anyone can become one. And I gotta say, I love Bitcoin Tina, but you're right. I mean, we can't live in this fantasy world where there's never going to be another down period. There is going to be another down period. It's just for every reason that you put out there. All these people they have no logic or reason, and they don't even know why they're.
Markets are represented by human beings, and the thing is, like we've just literally been talking about how we're drowning in sheeple. Like we're drowning in people who are sitting there praying. Like there was this idiot on Twitter just then that I just blocked about half an hour ago saying, "Oh, Bitcoin won't protect you from taxes, but the US dollar will." I was like, what a moron. So like, these are the people that are begging for slavery. So they're the ones who, like, we're drowning in them. And they're the ones who are sort of peripherally, sorry, touching Bitcoin and all the, garbage alts and all the other crap around it. And they're the people with no conviction. Like, to hold Bitcoin, you need to have a brain. To hold Bitcoin, you need to have conviction. You need to have meaning. You need to be able to sit with this thing. You need to be able to dig deeper and learn and do all that sort of stuff. And like you said, the majority of people, that does not define the majority of people. So long as that subset of society exists, we're going to have waves, and it's going to keep washing, cleaning, and leaving us with a denser and denser chunk of Bitcoiners who understand it. So that's why, like, the governments are going to print. We're going to get inflation. They're going to keep pumping heroin. They're going to keep pumping hysteria. They're going to keep trying to keep themselves relevant. Bitcoin's going to grow in cycles. It's going to produce maximum pain for those who don't understand it. Those who do, we're going to hang on, the entire time, because that's what we do. We know why we're here. We're not buying Bitcoin so that we can make more dollars. We are exiting the system, and we are all trying to accumulate more Bitcoin than we had yesterday. Like that's the ultimate measure, is do you have more Bitcoin today than you did yesterday? If you did, you're moving in the right direction. If not, you're moving in the wrong direction. And that's the game there. And we're going to keep acquiring those people, but it's not going to happen like some overnight fantasy that Bitcoin Tina has, that somehow the corporations are going to come in and it's it's going to go to $1 billion. It ain't going to happen like that.
You bring up a lot of my words there. Conviction, value your wealth in Bitcoin. This is great stuff, man. Guys, Alex put a lot on the table. Does anybody has anything to add to what Alex put there?
Yeah, I think like whenever Bitcoin pumped, I guess like 2 days ago, whatever, alts pumped a lot more. So I'm like, okay, we're not ready to go up yet. I want more pain. Like I want Bitcoin to drop so everybody else drops a lot more, because we're just not ready yet for that next leg up. There's just too many idiots in the space right now who expect their altcoin to just pump forever. So I wouldn't mind a little bit more pain here. Let's go 20, 25, bring it on. I want pain. Bring on that pain, because this is the altcoiners really pissed me off. And like just talking about Doge in 2021 it destroys my brain. I can't think. Like I don't know what to do anymore, because this is the dumbest arguments, the dumbest takes to even think about. I thought this is not 2015. Like what's going on here? It drives me crazy. So I wouldn't mind a little bit more pain, and it kind of goes to my elongated cycle too. So I think we'll just hang around here for a little bit, then maybe pump again a little bit later down the road. But it's just a little too frothy right now with newcomers coming in. They just don't understand what's going on. So I wouldn't mind a little bit more downtrend in this.
I'll add. I'm a positive guy, so I'm not a fan of it of more pain. I understand that people have to learn a lesson, but I enjoy it when it goes up. And this has been I've gotten so many weird DMs and stuff from people panicking and just people who think they're experts all of a sudden because of this downtrend. I don't want to hear from it anymore. I don't want to hear people asking me, is it going to zero? I thought that was 2015 also. You say Dogecoin, so 2015. Going to zero FUD is 2015. And it comes back. All these people, that's one of the things about Bitcoin. There's always going to be tourists that are coming in, always going to be newbies that say what you heard back in 2015. And if you put yourself out there, you have to deal with it. And Alex gets frustrated with it. He blocks people. I get a little obviously bothered by it too. So that's why I'm like, just let it go up again, so I don't get these annoying things. I fully understand. I have one of the strongest hands out there, as if people know. I'm the very definition of conviction. So I mean, 2024 halving, 2028 halving. I know the people that are watching this in the future are laughing their butts off at us and how low the price is. All right, let's. But any of you other guys have anything to add to what Alex said? There.
Everything has been said.
Everything has been said. All right, so real quick, we're going to talk about Miami, and we're going to talk about Clubhouse. Clot, are you going to be in Miami? Or what do you think about the upcoming conference? It is getting coverage on the freaking Drudge Report at a link to the Miami conference. So a lot of people know about it, and it probably will get vilified because there's going to be 11,000 people who care about money. You're not supposed to care about getting wealthy anymore. But Bitcoin Clot, are you going to be in the house? And your take on this, what is bound to be the biggest Bitcoin conference in the history of mankind, the most important one so far?
Clot, my left.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, crap. I didn't even see. That sucks. Then we'll go to, we'll stick with Marty Zhao then.
I'll be there. So I'm flying Thursday. It'll be a little bit weird being a NIM going there, but going to the pleb party Thursday night. Hit me up if you're going. Let's rage a little bit. But yeah, I'm looking forward to all the speakers there. Should be a fun little week in Miami. Get away from the mass hysteria. I'm in the U.S. like a little bit north, so just get away from all the morons up here. Then go to a place where people actually value freedom. So it should be a little bit more fun down there. Looking forward to meeting everybody. Should be a good time. Let's do it. Miami,
Are you on Clubhouse at all?
I am. I was at the very beginning, but haven't been in there for a while. It just got a little old. I got a little burnt out, but I go in there every now and then. There's like a good panel or whatever going on. Yeah,
I've been asking every guest their opinion on Clubhouse. I had one good experience, but I can see how a lot of people can get bored, and I can see how some people become addicted. And we do have some people who've been on the show in the past who when I check out Clubhouse every time they're on there. Bitcoin Tina's a big fan of that. I know he is. All right, Alex, what's your take on Clubhouse? You mentioned it.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a fad. Like I mentioned this a little while ago. I think, I in the beginning I was there and I was doing a bunch of, I found it kind of cool because it was relatively serendipitous. The whole Lex Friedman, Eric Weinstein thing all blew up because me and Alan Farrington created a room to bash Taleb, and Eric Weinstein popped in, and then Lex Friedman popped in, and that's where the whole original conversation happened. And Lex was like, oh, love, man, love. and anyway, like we were like, all right, well, let's, do you want to learn about Bitcoin? And he was like, yeah, let's do a podcast together, blah blah blah. And then after that, he turned around and he blocked all the Bitcoin. So, what's wrong with this guy? So anyway, the guy's a loser. What can I say? Like there's some interesting serendipitous meetings in there, but it's man, like I was on it maybe once a week or twice a week in the beginning. Now I've been on it maybe 3 times in the last 2 months. Like it's just, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna last. It's gonna be like a little.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I got a question though, Alex, about Lex. Do you think he really believes all that love stuff? Because he does really give that vibe off all the time. He's like, I'm just a nice guy. Why can't we be peaceful?
The guy's a fraud, man.
Okay.
The guy's a fraud.
Every tweet he says love at least once.
Absolute. Yeah, he's an absolute fraud. He's an absolute fraud. He's a little dweeb who, you know, thinks he knows about, like, you know, sitting there trying to talk to us about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Man, step in the ring with me for 5 minutes, I'll choke you out. Like, seriously, the guy's a dweeb. He's one of those losers who never had friends and who sits there, sort of hides behind these platitudes of, you know, love and forgiveness and togetherness and collectivism and all that sort of stuff. Like, he can't think deeply, and it's a clear sign. Like, you know, you see people bringing on, like, he's bringing Vitalik on now, and he's going to sit there and, you know, have gay intercourse with Vitalik because they're both losers, and they both can't think deeply, you know, and they're both commies, basically. Like, they believe that they know what's right for everybody else. So yeah, the guy's a complete fraud. I can't stand him.
He's a philosopher king. Is that what he? That's I wouldn't call them communists. There's a lot of dudes out there that are in his circle. There's lots of people in his circle that are they think they know better than everybody else. Now, very interesting take you have on him. I don't need to watch him more because his shows are just so darn long. My lord! Yeah. But I gotta get a better feel for him. I thought
there's a good episode with Michael Malice, just and he's red pilling him pretty deep, and he's kind of making fun of him. That's a good show. There's some interesting guests in his show, but it's definitely like, first of all, the guy is so boring to hear. Like, hear him talk, it's like some kind of autistic. It's very weird. I mean, it's so boring, and it's like sometimes you have 4-hour shows. I mean, it's endless. But like grabbing the ball on Clubhouse, to me, like, it's one of the biggest like red flag was like not having an Android app for like months. What is that? Like, it's had like something like $1 billion valuation. And like, what proportion of phones are Android? Like, it's probably bigger than iOS now. I guess. So to me, that was like a big red flag. Like, I'm not gonna buy an iPhone just to install its stupid app. But I've been in a couple of discussions, like with QueenBeast, and there's a few lounges I was in. I think the concept is interesting. Well, you can like passively listen to conversation. It's like at the background of your phone, kind of like a podcast a little bit. So that's interesting. I would like to see more. I've been only on Bitcoin discussion. Have you guys tried like on other subjects or stuff like that? I've been only into Bitcoin discussion.
I stumbled on some libertarian thing, and it was interesting. But you know, I when I was younger, I knew talk radio. So I think a lot of these people don't even know talk radio. Yeah. So this is kind of like talk radio. So it's impressive to them. And it's better than talk radio, but for me, the reason I liked it was when I was hosting a room and people were asking me questions, and that's not like, I couldn't just sit there for hours and listen to all these other people ask other people questions. I got to be in motion, and I love answering people's Bitcoin questions. I would love being a host over there, but being one of these people that goes to every room and listens, and I don't know. You can get into, people can start talking there, and it's useless stuff. I don't want to hear some of these people. But basically, you get stuck in some rooms and just lots of noise. But hey, let them try, let them innovate. It was weird that you could only get it on iPhone or whatever.
Yeah,
and, that's odd in this technological world that we live in today. And your take on Miami, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not going to be there. I have a few scheduled conflict, and the thing that here in Canada, it's still pretty insane to travel and to come back. Like, they basically put you to jail. So yes. I said, fuck off, and I'm just going to follow remotely. But it's definitely going to be interesting. Like, first convention in, let's say, more than a year. Very good. I mean, the list of guests is going to be very interesting, and not only with the big names, but like the amount of Bitcoin Twitter people there is going to be massively interesting. I would love to be there just for the side events. I mean, the convention itself, it's always interesting, but where it's happening, it's always like the event on the side, like the drinks and the everything that's happening around the convention. I think this is more important than the convention. A lot of things in Bitcoin have been done by like spontaneously getting together and stuff like that. So that's going to be interesting for sure. I'm going to follow that. And it's interesting that Florida has become like this beacons of liberty, not only like in the US, but I think in the world. Like people are. I was reading like an article about how like the federalist system in the US has basically saved the world in the last year, because you saw like this is amazing. Like you saw like governors like DeSantis and the guy from Texas who saw the opportunity to be outliers and moving forward with opening the states, and it's basically set the stage for the other states. To me, that's as the country here in Canada, pretty much every provinces dug deeper into the lockdowns hysteria. Same in Australia was pretty insane too, Alex. I think they're locking down again.
Yeah, dude, Alex left there a long freaking time. He knew to get the heck. It is the worst. They are pathetic there. And you great segue bringing up Alex. But I do want to say what you said. The federalist system. Maybe it did save the darn world. This state of Florida that I'm in right now, it may have. If it wasn't for Florida, things would be a lot different in the United States. I'll tell you that, and thus in the world. And there are all these haters of DeSantis out there. They call him Death Santis. They just repeat the same mindless talking points over and over and over again. And for the people that come down here, they're going to see what's really going on here, because it's totally normal here. It's not. It's great. It's been amazing, and I love being here. And I think people are just going to lose their minds when they come down here, because some of these dudes coming from California aren't ready for this, aren't ready for freedom. And that's sad that they're not ready for it anymore. And so Alex has been traveling the freaking world, has been wise not to be in Australia, and you have made it to the peak, brother. You have made it. You're not in Florida yet. You're in America, but you're going to be in Florida, and there's nothing better. You found your way. I don't know how you got in here. And yeah, Canada is a freaking disgrace that if you came down here, you couldn't go back. You'd have to like hide out there for 2 weeks or whatever. Although I hear if you fly back into Calgary, you might be able to get around these ridiculous rules. Alex, what's it mean to you to be this conference? Okay, because you have definitely been jumping around this planet the last year.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think I was gonna make it in, man. Like I got interrogated for hours at the border. They were trying to decide whether I'm, what's the word, essential travel or not, and every other question under the sun. It was a disaster. But anyway, I got in, which is great. So I honestly think, like you said, Texas and Florida are going to become beacons of hope. Like they're an example of those beacons of hope that I was talking about earlier. Because, I mean, I've been in South America, I've been in Europe, I've been sort of everywhere, and I mean, Australia, you can't say it was blanket bad. Like Australia, like in Brisbane, which is up north, right? So Brisbane, sort of climate-wise, is the equivalent of Florida. Surprise, surprise. They didn't have any cases there. And, surprise, surprise, they only locked down for like a week or something last year. But everything has practically just been normal in Brisbane the entire time. And that's because naturally, Brisbane doesn't get much in the way of flus and colds and respiratory illnesses because it's warm throughout the entire year. Like, and, the state that is that had the really, really bad lockdown last year, and that is literally gone into lockdown since yesterday again, is Victoria, which is Melbourne. That's in the south. And those idiots are like, they're literally making it illegal for you to get a cold. Like, it's illegal to get a cold. It's illegal to cough in that state. Like, what kind of mad world are we living in for you not to be able to, or if somebody else coughs, that you get imprisoned? This is absolutely unheard of. So for me, like, coming here now is like, honestly, it's a breath of fresh air. I can't wait till I get to Miami. Like, I've had my challenges flying around. Like, I make it a point to make anybody's life a living hell on the airline, at the airport, at security. I never wear a mask until they're like absolutely force me, and then I take it off, and just to piss them off a little bit. I'm. It's exhausting sometimes to be a thought, but I know that get exhausted before I do. Just to, like, keep annoying them and keep making them feel worthless. I'm about to get some shirts with like some clear.
You're breaking up on us here, Alex.
Breaking the internet.
Yeah. Your hotel connection is going down, so it's the end of the show anyway. So let's go to Marty's. Al, your conclusionary thoughts. Anything you want to add? Your link to below. Promote yourself. Any stories you want to share?
Yeah, we're just another day closer to the halving. We got another 3 years to go. Let's go. But yeah, just you can follow me on Twitter. It's Marty's_owl. Took a week off of Twitter recently, but I'll probably be back today or tomorrow. Why not? So follow me there, and yeah, let's just keep this bull run going.
One day closer to an all-time high also. And the halving, of course. Jonathan, your final thoughts. Bring up CoinBeast, I guess. We get here. I got my CoinBeast shirt on.
Yeah, we can be found, I think, Adam and me on CoinBeast Connect. So if you want consultation on various topics, myself being specialized on Bitcoin markets / regulation, mining economics. It's a market I'm pretty active in. I'm currently working on a few ventures around the world. But anyway, like the owl said, can be found on Twitter as well. JAML, GHAMEL on Twitter. So it's gonna be glad to not gonna be in Miami, but gonna follow the discussion remotely for sure.
All right, you made a great return appearance here. And well, Alex, do you have any conclusionary thoughts? Hopefully the connection is improved.
Let's see. I mean, I turned off my video, so how's my audio? Is it all right?
That's beautiful. That was what you had to do.
You're in the green zone now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah, look. Basically, I was just saying Miami is going to be fantastic. For me, I think being around, like, I mean, I've not stopped being around people for the last 2 years. Like, I don't care, but like for me, just sort of being in a room of people who are liberty oriented. And more importantly, not just liberty-oriented like these, libertarians, but like liberty-oriented and mission-driven, like, because, we've actually got a pathway forward for freedom. I think the energy is going to be electric. I think the location is going to be fantastic. It's going to be really good. So, whoever's going to be there, looking forward to it. Jonathan, if there's some way you can sort of swing your way to come down, just do it, man. Like, honestly, like, I think the environment's going to be incredible. And my gut feeling is this will be one of the events to remember, because we've had such a long period of, absence with everyone, but simultaneously because, as Bitcoin gets more and more and more and more valuable, more of us are going to want to go off the grid. Like, at some point, I'm going to want to sell Amber to, somebody, and I'm going to, want to disappear off the grid because I don't want to be around, all the stupidities. So, like, these kind of, I think, are going to diminish inside, or they're probably going to diminish in quality because, as Bitcoin becomes more mainstream, like, all of us crazy people, we're going to sort of want to do our own things. So anyway, I think this is going to be a special event, and we're looking forward to it.
I agree. I look forward to meeting you in the freaking flesh at long last, man. I've met your buddies in Australia. Mm-hmm. You weren't there. Now I'm going to meet you finally, and it's just a few days away. So we're going to be hanging out, man. It's going to be great.
100%.
And you make a really good point about future events. Us, the OGs, will drop off because they'll, if Bitcoin gets to be $1 million, it's, it might not be safe anymore. But very good reminder. So I say this is going to be the best one ever. like, you know, but maybe of all time, maybe in the future, one will never eclipse this. But I'm a positive guy. There will be one in the future that will be better. But so far, this will be the best of all time, of the time that we've lived so far. So just because of everything that Alex has said, and just so many people have been locked down, and are just, there's going to be such a release for certain people, for a lot of the people there. So, all right, dudes. That is it. Remember, we do this every Friday. I'm Adam Meister, the BitcoinMeister, the Disrupt Meister. Thank you, guests that are here, and thank you, guests that have left. We'll probably do This Week in Bitcoin earlier next week. It probably won't be on Friday because I'm going to be at the conference. So pound that like button, everybody. Shabbat shalom. See you real soon. Thank you again, everyone. Bye-bye. All right. We are